Hi everyone. My name is Olaitan, and I'm happy to be here again today. And today I'll be talking to us about how we can defend our entire digital estate with Microsoft SIEM. The reality of things today is ever since COVID-19 happened, a lot of things has changed. Now we have situation whereby we're working from home, end users are having access to a lot of devices to have access to the organization resources. It wasn't the same way it was prior to COVID because before COVID, the approach was basically people going to the office. When people get to the office, they they sign into the organization's laptop or computer, they get to work, and once they are done, they shut the laptop or shut down the computer and go back home. But ever since COVID-19 came through, it changes the entirety of how we get to work. Now we have users having access to the organization resources with their personal devices, with multiple devices. We have situations where one user could be having access to the organization resources with a corporate laptop, even a personal laptop, and at the same time with their mobile devices. And at the same time, this same set of users are still using smartwatches, and if you look at the way smartwatches work, it means it's connected to the phone, and if it is connected to the phone, you get to get notifications of organizations organizations data getting into those smartwatch. So and smartwatch are being classified as IoT devices. So what it technically means is the organization digital estate is really, really expanding, and we need to properly take care of that. So apart from that, in the past it used to be basically on-prem infrastructure, right? The organization has their own data center. You get to work. The organization laptop or computer is connected to the organization network. But now it has all evolved. Now we are working remotely. We are working far from the office. It's no longer on-prem environment alone. Now we have hybrid approach because a lot of organizations now have their resources in the cloud. And even apart from that, the multi-cloud architectural system is also now a thing because organizations no longer have resources on just one cloud environment. But now you see organizations having resources on Azure, AWS, GCP, on even some other cloud platforms that are not so popular. So the reality of things is our digital estate keeps expanding, and how do we approach this? How do we approach this? And that is why Microsoft Sentinel is actually very, very important. And the beautiful thing about Microsoft Sentinel is it is not just a SIEM solution, right? The Microsoft Sentinel is a SIEM and SOAR solution, right? We are able to properly optimize our security operation within the cloud native SIEM that is powered with AI and automation. And the reality of our business, the reality of the tech world right now is everyone is leveraging on the capability of AI. And at the same time, everyone is trying to automate their processes. So with Microsoft Sentinel, we have a SIEM and SOAR solution that gives us that capability to harness the scale of the cloud, detect evolving threats. We are able to expedite our incident response, and at the same time, we are able to get ahead of attackers. And the goal of every business is to be able to get ahead of attackers. So with the Microsoft Sentinel, we have a solution that gives us that capability to harness the scale of cloud native SIEM. It helps us to eliminate infrastructure setup or maintenance because Microsoft Sentinel sits on Azure. So basically, if we want to use Microsoft Sentinel, we don't have to pay upfront, unlike other SIEM solutions where you have to pay upfront, you have to set it up, you have to pay to set it up. But no, Microsoft Sentinel sits on Azure. It's a cloud solution. So basically all you need to do is just set up your workspace, and you're saving costs in terms of infrastructure setup. And also there's no limit to compute or storage resources, and you can scale at will because the goal of every business is to keep growing, right? So if at some point your business grows up to a particular limit and you need to scale up, you can easily scale up. And if also you need to scale down, you can also easily do the same. And also you can be able to collect and analyze data across your entire organization at cloud scale, because where a lot of organizations are struggling in the past is the fact that they've not been able to properly collect data, and it means a lot of things are going on in your organization, and you're not able to have that proper visibility into those things that are going on. And also with Microsoft Sentinel, you're able to only pay for what you use, you which means you have a SIEM solution that is 48% less expensive than your traditional SIEM. Because unlike a traditional SIEM, you get to like pay a lot of money for it. And these are the things that make a lot of people, a lot of customers, a lot of organizations not want to use SIEM solution, because it involves data collection, right? And when you get to like pay a lot of money for analyzing and checking through your data, this has been a major challenge with a lot of organizations. But the good thing is Microsoft has been able to address that with the Microsoft Sentinel, right? You're going to be spending about 48% less than what you would on a normal SIEM solution or traditional SIEM solution. So with the Microsoft Sentinel, you're able to stay ahead of attackers, right? You're able to rapidly hunt for threats with the speed of the cloud, with robust threat hunting tooling that has been built into the solution. You're able to get advanced insight into your entity fueled by built-in user and entity behavioral analytics. You're able to understand the behavior of your users, how they are moving, what they are doing, how they are doing what they do. So in summary, you're able to, have that visibility into your users' entity behavioral analytics with the UEBA feature that has been built into the solution. Then also you're able to conduct advanced custom hunting with built-in Jupyter notebooks. So with the Microsoft Sentinel, we have an end-to-end solution for our security operation, right? So the end-to-end security operation within Microsoft Sentinel involves collection of data. After we must have collected data, because the first thing is want to have visibility, and there's no way we can have visibility if we do not collect data. So the genesis of the whole thing is we have to collect data. That's by connecting our different data sources across our entire digital estate, and we are able to get visibility. Now, after collection of data, we want to detect all sort of threats that might be going on in our connected data sources. And with the detection capability in Microsoft Sentinel, we are able to leverage on the capability of our analytic rules to properly analyze, and also with our hunting query to properly hunt for all sort of threats, and leverage on the capability of Microsoft Detection Intelligence to detect all sort of threats that might be going on across our collected data sources. Then also we want to be able to investigate, right? Because after we must have connected our data and we must have seen visibility into our data, after we must have run our analytic rule on for threats, detect all sort of threat that might be going on. We also want to investigate for this threat, right? So we can leverage on the investigative capability of the Microsoft Sentinel to investigate for all sort of threats. And during the process of investigating, you get incidents, right? Now, after getting incidents, we also want to be able to like respond to all these threats, right? And we want to automate our processes because we don't want to keep going round and round in circle. So this is the end-to-end solution for the Microsoft Sentinel security operation. We collect data, we detect and investigate and respond. So that's why I usually tell people Microsoft Sentinel is not just a SIEM solution, it's a SIEM and SOAR solution. Right, so let's start with visibility, because everything starts with visibility. We want to collect data at cloud scale from any sources. And the good thing about the Microsoft Sentinel is there are hundreds out of the box integration, right? There are already built-in templates that we can leverage on. Think about it. You're already using Azure, your M365 application, your Google Cloud environment, or your GCP environment. They're already built in data connectors for these sources that has been built into Sentinel that we can easily leverage on. Also, if we are looking at collecting data from Azure, other cloud platform, or on-prem, we can easily do that with the Microsoft Sentinel. And we have built-in connectors for all these environments. Then also we can also build customizable visualization, because after collection of data, I want to be able to properly visualize our data. I want to be able to like visualize our data and see what is happening across all our connected data sources, right? So now we are able to collect security data at CloudScape from any source. Any source at all you might be thinking of. Is it from your Azure environment, M365? You want to collect security alert, activity data of your users, of your applications. You're able to do this with the Microsoft Sentinel. Then there are also standard collectors. Think of the central event format, DCF, SYS log, Windows, Linux. Think of it. Is it a Windows server, or is it a Windows device that you have on your cloud environment? They are looking at collecting data from. You can easily do that with the Microsoft Sentinel. And also there are also standard collectors, right, that you can use to collect log from any application or any device, right? You also have the taxi and the Microsoft Graph for our threat indicators, right? We can leverage on the millions of threat intelligence that are being governed by Microsoft on a daily basis, to be able to further improve our threat intelligence of our environment. Then also we can also use our APIs for custom logs, right? So what it technically means is in terms of data connection or connecting of data sources, regardless of whatever it is, regardless of whatever device it might be or whatever location, there is a way of collecting those data. Then also we can integrate out of the box with your existing tools in Azure, on-prem, or in other cloud environment. Because the reality of our business right now, or the reality of businesses right now, is the multi-cloud architectural system is a thing. And this is a situation where organizations have resources on more than one cloud environment, right? So we can integrate that out of the box with our existing tools in Azure, on premises, or any other cloud platform. There has been over 150 plus out of the box integration, and with Microsoft looking to add way more. So think about it: is it Google Cloud Platform, or are you using a solution from Cisco that you're looking at connecting into Sentinel, or is it from Carbon Black? Is it from Symantec, Palo Alto, McAfee? Think about that OEM. There is a connector for you to properly integrate into Sentinel and collect data from those sources. Then also, after collection of data, right, because everything starts with collection of data. If we collect data and we are not able to properly analyze our data, that means we wouldn't be able to see what is going on across our data. So, after we must have collected our data, we want to be able to properly analyze our data. So the beautiful thing about Sentinel is we can leverage on the capability of the Sentinel workbook, right? Where we can get interactive dashboard of powerful insight. We can choose from a gallery of workbooks that has been built into Sentinel, or we can decide to customize or create our own workbook using queries. One thing about Sentinel is you need to understand Kusto Query Language to be able to build up your workbooks, analyze your data however way you deem fit, or however way your business requires. Microsoft gives us that capability to be able to customize or create our own workbook using queries. Then also we can take advantage of the rich visualization options that has already been built into Sentinel to be able to properly visualize our connected data sources. And at the same time, we can easily gain insight into one or more data sources. It depends on what we are looking at doing internally. If we have 100 data sources that we've connected into Sentinel, and we want to visualize from each data sources, or want to combine, however we would deem fit, we can easily, visualize our data. So now, after we must have been able to visualize our data, we want to detect threats, right? And that is where the analytic rules come in, right? Because we've been able to collect our data source, we've been able to visualize our data. Now we can see what is going on across our data. We can see, oh yes, something is going wrong around this end. I think there seems to be a breach around this particular end. Now this is where the analytic rules comes in, right? With the analytic rule, we can detect threats with machine learning and advanced analytics. So Microsoft Sentinel is leveraging on the capability of machine learning. And with our analytic rule, we can reduce our false positive by 78%, by over 78%. And the reality of a lot of businesses with some of the same solution they use is businesses often struggle with false positive, and that is something Microsoft has been properly able to address. Then also our machine learning trained by trillions of signals daily. Microsoft has trillions of signals daily, and this machine learning has been properly trained. Then also you have the built-in human entity behavioral analytics that we can leverage on to be able to understand the behaviors of our users and their entity behavior. And also we can leverage extensive library of detection or build our own. The good thing is there has been over 100 analytic built-in rules that we can leverage on, to analyze our data that we collected, or we can decide to customize. We can decide to customize and create our own Kusto Query queries. If probably the analytic rules that has been built into Sentinel, probably we do not see the one that addresses our immediate concern, we can decide to build our own analytic rule from scratch by using Kusto Query Language, right? You can correlate our events with our threat intelligence, and now with Microsoft URL intelligence plus network data. So, we can correlate our events with the built-in threat intelligence in Microsoft Sentinel. Then we can also democratize our machine learning with code-free, customizable machine learning anomaly detection, right? So we can also still integrate our own machine learning into Sentinel, to be able to do more in terms of our anomaly detection. Then also we can be able to improve our insider and unknown threat detection with user and entity behavioral analytics. So Microsoft has with the UEBA, we can be able to gain insights, to detect all sort of anomalies that might be going on across our users. We have that capability to be able to understand the relative sensitivity of entities, and also evaluate potential impact, right? And also we can get baseline behavioral profiles of entity across time and peer group horizons. We can, because with the UEBA, which is the user entity behavioral analytics, we are able to understand the behavior of our users, the devices. So if anything goes wrong, or if there are some sort of anomaly that might be going on across our users, across our devices, location, we are able to see it and address it properly. Then, after we must have collected our data, we must have visualized our data, we must have put in our analytic rules. We also want to hunt for all sort of threats in our data. We want to be sure that, okay, all the connected devices, all the data we are collecting are free from all sort of threats. And this is where the hunting comes in, right? We can get ahead of threats with advanced hunting tools, which comes with enriched hunting with threat intelligence. We are leveraging on the trillion of Microsoft threat intelligence that is being produced by Microsoft on a daily basis to, further enrich our hunt catch. We can customize our hunt with watch lists. We can conduct advanced hunting with Jupyter notebooks. And we can start hunting over security data with fast, flexible queries, right? We can run the built-in threat hunting queries. And the beautiful thing is, you don't need to have a prior query experience before you can be able to run in the threat hunting queries that has been built into Sentinel for us. So the good thing about Microsoft Sentinel is Microsoft really wants to make life easy for us. And they are already built in threat hunting queries in Sentinel that we can easily leverage on. And also we can customize and create our own hunting queries by using KQL. And just like I said, there's no escaping KQL when you're using Sentinel. KQL means Kusto Query Language, and this is how you get to get data in Sentinel. You want to prompt for data, you want to be able to understand what is happening, you use Kusto Query Language. Then also we can integrate our hunting and investigation. We can use bookmarks and live stream to manage our hunts. Probably I'm hunting for a thread. I can bookmark it, share with a colleague, so we can leverage on bookmarks and live stream to manage um our hunts. And at the same time, we can use our Jupyter notebook for advanced hunting. Our Jupyter notebook is been running Azure machine learning, and we can use our sample templates to help us get started. So what Microsoft has done is, for anything you want to think about, for any feature you want to think about in Microsoft Sentinel, there's a built-in query to help you get started, because Microsoft understand the fact that, okay, we might be new to the concept of using Sentinel, or we might be new to the concept of using a SIEM solution, and that is what Microsoft has done. For every feature you want to think about, there is a template. A template is there to, help you get started with the process. Then we can save as shareable HTML or JSON to our colleague. We can query our Microsoft Sentinel data and bring in external data sources for advanced hunting. So let's say you're looking at, you have a particular very, very advanced hunting tool that you've been using in the past, and you also want to bring it into Sentinel. You can be able to do that, right? And even also, if you don't want to use KQL, but you feel, no, I don't want to use KQL, I want to use Python, I want to use SQL, I want to use R, or I want to use any other language of my choice, you can be able to use it. But for me, I really love KQL, because KQL is just like natural language, so it's easy for me to go around, doing whatever it is that I want to do around Sentinel with KQL. But outside of KQL, you can use other language of your choice. Then also intelligence. You want to foil our threat detection and hunting with advanced threat intelligence. We want to unify our management of threat intelligence from any sources. We can integrate our insights with watch list, and we can get our entity insights with UEBA profiles. Then also, we want to be able to monitor and manage our threat intelligence, right? So one thing Microsoft has done with Sentinel is you can create, view, search, filter, sort, and tag all your threat indicators in a single plane, right? You have all your threat indicators in a single plane. You can, you can filter, you can sort however way you deem fit, or based on your organization requirement. Then also we can use our alert metrics to help us understand top threats that are targeting our organization. So, based on our alerts, based on we are leveraging on threat intelligence that has been built by Microsoft. This is basically decades of work of Microsoft engineers, and with the kind of alerts we are getting, we can use that metric to help us understand, okay, what are the top threats that are currently targeting our organization. At the same time, we can use automation playbooks for leading threat intelligence provider to enrich our attack further. Also, we can use watch list to integrate business insights. We can create collection of data for threat hunting and detection. It could be restricted IPs, trusted systems, critical assets, risky users, vulnerable hosts. We can create that collection of data for threat hunting and detection. And also we can incorporate our watch list into analytic rules, hunting queries, workbooks, and a whole lot more. We can create and allow or deny list. We can add more context and add enrichment, into our work list. We can upload a CSV file, create automation playbook, upload. We can do all of this to further integrate our business insights. And also we can access our unified insight with entity profile. We can get a complete view of a user or a host. We can do this by bringing together different data from multiple sources, including human entity behavior analytics. We can view timeline information across the most relevant data sources. Because we have a lot of data sources, we can view our timeline information. Okay, which data source are relevant to us, which ones are not really that relevant. We can be able to view our timeline information across these data sources. Then we can use insights to quickly identify activities of interest. So based on our insight, oh, there's a breach right now. Oh no, there's an anomaly going on around this particular data source. We can use that insight to quickly identify our activities of interest. And at the same time, we can customize our timeline to tune results and add other data sources, and we can link directly to Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Defender for Cloud where relevant for more information, right? So, we already have, let's say we already use Microsoft 365, want to connect to our Microsoft 365, the link is actually very, very easy. We can easily connect these sources, and we can be able to get information where relevant based on what we are actually doing at that particular point in time. Then, after we must have we've connected our data sources, right? We've been able to analyze our data. We've been able to hunt for all sort of threats. We've leveraged on Microsoft Threat Intelligence, hunt for threats. We've been able to, hunt for threats from all our connected data sources. Then there'll be incidents, right? Now, we also have the capability to streamline our investigation with incident insight, right? We have a centralized investigation with prioritized incidents, right? Okay, this is our dashboard. After we must have one thing, we have our incident. Okay, what is happening? There's a prioritized dashboard for us to see, okay, this is the most important thing. This is what you need to address for. So basically, we can understand the full scope of the attack. If there's an attack which we've hunted, while hunting through our connected data sources, there was an attack. I can go in there from the incident, understand the full scope of the attack. How did it happen? How did the breach happen? Who did it happen to? Who are the users involved? Or who is the users involved? What devices are involved? I really want to get a full scope of the attack. Then we're able to do that, right? And at the same time, we, just like I said earlier on in the beginning of our presentation, we can ask the right question with AI because Microsoft has been able to properly integrate artificial intelligence into Microsoft Sentinel. I'm able to ask the right answer, the right question, and I'll get the right answer. Now, we can start and track investigation from prioritized actionable security incidents, right? We can use our incident to collect related alerts, events, and bookmarks, and we can manage assignments and track status with automation at our fingerprint. And at the same time, we can collaborate easily with built-in Microsoft Teams integration. So the good thing is, while there are incidents, while hunting, I can easily bookmark, share with my colleague. Oh, probably in the SOC team, we are maybe 5, and I'm working on a particular incident. I can easily bookmark, share with my colleague. Okay, this is what I've been able to find from this particular incident. This is a full scope, but I think there might be more, and I need to be on break right now. If you wouldn't mind, you can jump on it and help me, finish up this particular incident I'm working on. That communication is there, that collaboration is there. So the goal is to make the life of SOC teams easier, and that is what Microsoft has been able to do with the Microsoft Sentinel. Then the last part is automation, right? Because as SOC teams, as SOC analysts, as admins, we have a lot of tasks, right? We have a lot of tasks that we have to do. We have a lot of things that we have to do, and we don't want to keep going round and round in circles. And that is what Microsoft has been able to address with Microsoft Sentinel. With Sentinel, we can accelerate our response and save time on common tasks. We don't have to keep going round and round in circles, right? We can integrate automation across our tool. We can streamline our incident management, and we can automate our daily routines. So we can automate and orchestrate security operation by using the integrated Azure Logic apps that has been built into Sentinel, right? We can build our automated and scalable playbooks that integrate across all the different tools, in Sentinel, or all the different tools that we might be using in our organization. We can choose from a library of samples. And just like I told us before, Microsoft has templates built into Sentinel, which you can get started with to understand, okay, if I'm trying to automate this particular process, I can use what Microsoft has done with this particular playbook sample for me to be able to understand how to create my own Azure Logic app to automate my process or to create my own playbook, sort of stuff like that. Then we can create our own playbooks by using over 200 plus built-in connectors. So, Microsoft really wants to make the life of SOC teams really easy, and there are over 200 plus built-in connectors in Sentinel that we can leverage on to build our own playbooks. So we can trigger a playbook from an alert or incident investigation. Oh, I got an alert and I want to like automate that particular process. I can easily trigger a playbook from alert, or probably while I was investigating a particular incident, after I must have gone for thread and there was an incident and I was, investigating that incident, I can also trigger a playbook and automate that process. So we need to take action today. Get started with Microsoft Sentinel, and we are able to like connect all our data source, and we are able to like hunt through for all sort of threats that might be going on across our entire digital estate, and we can automate that process. So thank you so much for today. If we have questions, please we can ask me questions, and I'm actually very much happy to respond to all our questions. So thank you very much for being on the session with me today.